What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're talking about 5 things I like and 5 things I don't like about the new 2025 F150. Let's get now. The first thing that I really like about this truck is the interior. And this being an XLT, it's not the nicest, but it's also not a base model. So what I think Ford did here is great because the things you're going to be touching all the time: steering wheel, door panels, you got leather here, you got nice materials here. I mean, hard plasticky stuff, but for the most part, you know, fairly nice materials. Like this is like kind of, I don't know, plasticky, rubbery stuff that's, you know, stitched. It looks very nice. I mean, this is, you know, your armrest is leather, so that's nice. Steering wheel, leather. Obviously, this is like the number one thing you're going to be holding when you're driving, so great to see a leather steering wheel in a base model truck, or kind of base model truck. And then also your center console here is also leather, which is nice because you're resting your arm, you're also touching that quite a bit. And then all your buttons and stuff here are pretty premium looking. I mean, you know, nice like kind of brushed aluminum look. They feel, you know, very nice. They're not rubbery. I mean, your drive mode button here is a little rubbery, but that's all right. Also, same with this button, also rubbery. But these ones here, like your fan controls, you know, this is a nice feeling button. Also, that's the other thing I like too. Part of the interior is actually having physical buttons for things. Not everything is in the screen. Obviously, you know, it's dual zone climate. You also got your fan control here, manual button. Heated seats are a manual button. You can change your vent position here with a manual button. Like, you got lots of actual buttons, volume, your radio tuning, everything like that. And then same thing with four-wheel drive. You got, you know, physical buttons. You got drive mode. It's a twist dial. And then even on your shifter here, you got, you know, buttons up and down for your manual mode. You can even lock out gears. And then also, another thing with the interior, the same thing, kind of a base model. It's still got push button start, which is nice. That's a very nice, you know, thing. It's just, do you need it? No. But push button start is nice because it just, you know, you don't have to worry about putting the key in. You can just get in with your key in your pocket, push the button, and away you go. Also, this digital dash is pretty nice. Power it up here real quick. So it is pretty nice to see the digital dash. They're kind of funky at times, but for the most part they work quite well. So that's first thing I like is interior. And then second thing I like 2025 F150 here is what's under the hood. Now, my particular truck here is the 5-liter Coyote, which is why I bought this particular truck, because this is the engine that I wanted. It's, I think, probably one of the best gas engines you can get in a pickup, regardless whether it's half ton or 3/4 or 1 ton. I think this is probably one of the best gas engines you can get in a pickup, especially from Ford. I think these are pretty good reliability wise. Now, they're going to have their issues like everything else. Timing chains, cam phasers. Gen 4 Coyote has an oil pump belt, so who knows how that's going to go. This has cylinder deactivation too, which is not that great, but so far it seems pretty reliable. Doesn't seem to have issues like the GM. It's 5.3 and 6.2 trucks with the lifter failures, because this has no lifters. This is a dual overhead cam engine, so seems a little bit more reliable so far. Now, reasons why I want a Coyote. One is just simple reliability. You have a 5-liter V8 making 400 horsepower compared to a 3.5 V6 making the same 400 horsepower. The V8's going to do it a little bit more reliably, I think, because you got you got 8 cylinders doing less work, essentially. So that was my reasoning for the Coyote. Also, Coyote sounds great. I mean, it almost sounds like a Mustang, because this is, for argument's sake, basically a Mustang engine. I know Mustang has quite a few differences, but for argument's sake, it's borderline the same. So that's the other thing I really like about this truck. Now, that's the other thing I like about these two is, even if you don't want a Coyote, you got the 2.7 EcoBoost and you got the 3.5 EcoBoost. Both are really great engines. I actually used to own a 2.7 and it was a pretty good truck. Reliability wise, they're actually really, really good. They got the graphite iron block, like a 6.7 Power Stroke. And also, they just seem pretty reliable. They got a nice cartridge filter on them. Oil changes are easy. They also seem like a great engine. I know a lot of people that have them and have had pretty much 0 issues. And then you also have the hybrid, which, if you want a hybrid pickup, Ford is pretty much your only option. Ram has the e-torque, but it's not nowhere near as powerful as Ford's Power Boost. So that's one great thing about the F-150. It's one thing I like about it is you got a lot of different powertrain options. Now, I wish Ford still did offer a 3-liter diesel, like a 3-liter Power Stroke. They canceled that back in 2021 because it wasn't that great, but it would be great to see Ford get a 3-liter diesel option back in the F-150, because now GM with the 3.0 Duramax is the only half-ton diesel you can get. Nissan doesn't have the Cummins anymore, Ram doesn't have the Eco Diesel anymore, and Ford doesn't have the 3-liter Power Stroke anymore. Just GM with the 3-liter Duramax. Now, the next thing I like, which obviously this is going to be a little bit subjective, but next thing I like is the looks. Now, I think for a half-ton truck, I think they did a really good job with how these look. It's not my favorite looking truck on the road by far, but I think for what this is, for an F-150, for a half-ton truck, I think Ford did a really, really good job. Like, these new headlights and everything look great on these XLTs. I think, like I said in my last video, I think the XLT front end here is much nicer than any of the higher trim level trucks like a Lariat or a King Ranch or anything like that. I think this looks much nicer, especially when it's running. Like I was saying before, the little amber strip here lights up and it looks great. I think Ford did a great job. And then also the color, this is Ford's Agate Black, which it's tough to see, the truck's dirty, but you can almost kind of see it. There's a little bit of metallic flake in the paint, which is nice. Ford does that a lot with some of their blues and stuff, like antimatter blue. So that's one thing I like, is how this truck. Now, the fourth thing I like about this truck, ride quality. Now, this is obviously a half-ton truck, so you got independent front suspension, coil over, no torsion bars or anything. Obviously double wishbone, so you got lower control arm, upper control arm. This is also steer or an electric steering rack, so the steering is very precise. The brakes are very precise, so I think this truck handles very, very well. It rides very, very well. It honestly kind of feels like a car. It really doesn't feel like you're driving a truck. Now, in the back, you got leaf spring suspension, so solid rear axle and leaf springs. Now, these newer trucks, they did something a little funky. It's only got 2 leaves. It's got one thick one and then one thinner one. So it's kind of weird to see 2 leaves back here, but I mean, it makes up for it in ride quality. The truck rides fantastic. Obviously, solid rear axle back there. So it's still going to ride like a truck a little bit, but for the most part, this thing really does kind of handle like a car. All right, guys, so now the fifth and final thing that I like about this truck is how cheap it is to operate, meaning it's compared to a diesel truck, which is what I owned prior to this. Fuel is much cheaper. You don't have to worry about fuel additives. You don't have to worry about DEF. Fuel itself, obviously 87, regular gas is way cheaper than diesel fuel. So just everything about that is cheaper. Also, oil changes are cheaper, filters are cheaper. You're buying gasoline oil, which is cheaper per quart compared to diesel oil. Also, diesel, the Power Stroke takes 15 quarts. This truck takes, you gotta buy 8. So that's a big savings right there. And then you don't have to worry about regens. That wastes a bunch of fuel. So just overall, it's a very, very cheap truck to operate on the day-to-day. It's a great daily driver. That's really the last thing I like about it. This truck really is a great daily driver. There's not much to worry about. It's just very, very simple, very, very user-friendly, very, very easy to drive and just live with every day. It's a very, very easy truck to deal with, very easy to drive. Has all the parking sensors, blind spot monitoring, just a very, very easy truck to operate and use. So now on to the things that I don't like. First thing that I don't like with this truck is Apple CarPlay. Now, usually it connects perfectly fine, don't have much of an issue, but there are some times where it just refuses to connect. No matter what I do, it will sometimes have no volume, it'll sometimes just not play anything, or sometimes it'll play one song and then just freeze and just not work, and it just turns into a nightmare. Sometimes I gotta turn the entire truck off and then just restart this, restart the screen here to get it to work. And then sometimes when the music does start playing, instead of playing out of all the truck speakers, it only plays out of that right door speaker. Sound doesn't come from any other speaker. It only comes out from right there. Now, I don't know what is up with that, but it drives me insane when it happens. So I don't understand that. Now, the next thing that I really don't like about this truck, this is probably number one, or the biggest thing that I don't like about this truck, is this 10-speed transmission, the 10R180. It does not shift smoothly at all. Going up through the gears when you're on power, it shifts pretty well. It hiccups sometimes, but for the most part, pretty well. But Usually when you're slowing down, especially if you got to slow down a little quick, it makes all sorts of racket. It downshifts very aggressively. It does not downshift smoothly at all. Like, it really lets you know when it downshifts, almost to the point where it feels like you run something over when it downshifts. That's how aggressive it downshifts, which I really do not like that at all. It does not make for a smooth driving experience. Now, the next thing I don't like is because it's a half-ton truck, it doesn't tow that great, which I knew getting into it, but I didn't realize how kind of bad it would be. Now, this thing does not like to pull a trailer. You know, I'm so used to having a diesel that when you do tow trailers with this thing, not that I pull very heavy, but it really knows that there's a trailer behind it. That 5-liter works with a trailer behind it. I'm so used to a diesel, you can just step on the throttle, it'll stay in whatever gear that it's in, and it'll just pull. And then also the power, like the 5-liter sounds great, it just doesn't make that much power in stock form. Like, these things will fly if you put a supercharger on them, but in stock form they really don't do all that great. Now, the next thing I really don't like about this truck is the tailgate. So what I mean by that is it works perfectly fine, simple, but the issue is when the truck's running or on, it'll tell you tailgate ajar, which it should. That's good, that's a good feature, but it doesn't always know when you close the tailgate. Now, what I mean is, say right now the truck's off, drop the tailgate and then close the tailgate. Now, it's closed, it's not half closed, like, it's closed. And sometimes when you get in the truck, it'll say tailgate ajar, even though the tailgate is clearly closed. So when the truck's running, sometimes you gotta come out, you gotta just pop it open a little bit and then close it again, and then the light goes away. Sometimes it doesn't go away, sometimes it stays on. So again, I don't know what's up with that, but it's just kind of something that it does, and I really do not know why, but that's another thing I don't like. And then really the last big thing, this is kind of a couple things all wrapped up into one here, so I'm going to call this the last. Really, the last thing that I really don't like about this truck is just the overall driving experience. Now, I know I said I like the ride quality because it rides nice, but at the same time, after driving this truck for almost a year, about 9 months now, I really have missed how a 2500 or 3500 style truck drives. It's just, it feels like you're driving a truck. I'm a truck driver for work. That's what I like to do. So I like something that feels like you're driving a truck. This is nice for a change, but I miss how a truck is supposed to ride. And this really does feel like you're driving a car, which is great for a daily driver, but I'm at the point where I really miss how a normal truck drives. So that's a minus point. And also, I really miss the driving experience of a diesel. The way they sound, just the amount of power. Like when you're on the highway with a diesel, especially if you're empty, you can just step on the throttle a little bit to pick up some speed. It'll hold whatever, it'll hold 10th gear or whatever, whatever speed, 6 speed, 10 speed, whatever. It'll hold your highest gear, just make a little bit of boost, and you can pick up speed. This obviously has no turbos on it. It's a 5-liter V8, so when you step on the throttle, it's got to downshift a couple gears, which is not a big deal, but it's just something, you notice after having a diesel. It's a little weird. And also, I just prefer how a diesel truck sounds over a V8. I mean, you might think I'm crazy, but that's fine. I honestly like how a diesel drives better than a gas truck. Now, I just really wanted to try out a Coyote. I've always thought they were great engines. I always thought they were cool. I wanted to, own one for a little while and see what it was like, and I don't regret it. I think this is a great truck. It's a great daily driver. It's been great for me, honestly. Knock on wood here. I've never had to take it in for any warranty work. Almost 9,000 miles on this truck now. It's been great, really no issues. Just the transmission is the biggest thing that I think is going to cause future issues, but we'll see about that. The 10R80 doesn't have the best reputation already. So that's really the biggest things that I like and don't like about this truck. If you guys have one of these newer style F150s, feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you guys like and don't like about yours, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing.